With telemedicine as bridge, no hospital is an island. When Sarah Cohen's acne drove her to visit a dermatologist in July, that's what she figured she'd be doing, visiting a dermatologist. But at the hospital on Nantucket, where her family spends summers, Miss Cohen, 19, was perplexed. "I thought I was going to see a regular doctor," she said, but instead she saw this giant screen. Suddenly, two doctors appeared on the video screen, dermatologists in Boston. A nurse in the room with Miss Cohen held a magnifying camera to her face, and suggested she close her eyes. Why? She wondered, then understood. The camera transmitted images of her face on screen, so the doctors could eyeball every bump and crater. "Oh my God, I thought I was going to cry," Miss Cohen recalled. "Even if you've never seen that pimple before, it's there." That, she realized, was the point. Technology, like these cameras and screens, is making it affordable and effective for doctors to examine patients without actually being there. More hospitals and medical practices are adopting these techniques, finding they save money and for some patients work as well as flesh and blood visits. There has been a shift in the belief that telemedicine can only be used for rural areas to a belief that it can be used anywhere, said Dr. Peter Yellow-Lees, director of the Health Informatics Program at the University of California, Davis, and a board member of the American Telemedicine Association. Before, you had to make do with poor quality, or buy a very expensive system. Now, you can buy a $100 webcam and do high-quality video conferencing. The technology is especially being embraced in professions like ophthalmology, psychiatry and dermatology, which face shortages of physicians. At Kaiser Permanente, dermatologists sit in a suite in San Francisco and treat patients throughout Northern California, Dr. Yellow-Lees said. It's much more efficient than having 20 hospitals, each with a dermatologist. On Nantucket, an island 30 miles from the nearest spit of mainland, telemedicine just makes a lot of sense, said Dr. Margot Hartman, Chief Executive Officer of Nantucket Cottage Hospital. It allows us to meet the mission of the hospital better because we are offering more locally, and saves patients the cost and time of flying or ferrying off-island, then driving to Cape Cod or Boston hospitals. The island may be small, but it has strikingly diverse medical needs. Its year-round population of about 10,000 balloons to 50,000 in the summer. And while it is famous for wealthy visitors, its year-rounders are much less affluent. They include immigrants from many countries, and range from business people to scholars. Nantucket has all the ailments one would find anywhere, plus some exacerbated by island life, skin cancer, tick diseases, water accidents. Most people are within an hour of some major hospital, said Joanne Bushung, the hospital's outpatient clinical coordinator. Not Nantucket. We're not practicing rural medicine, we're practicing island medicine. Nantucket's hospital has a handful of year-round doctors. While mainland specialists do visit, fog or storms can keep them from getting there. And specialists cost money. The hospital, millions in the red in recent years, are now needing $60 million to replace its outmoded 1,957 building, must pay for the specialists' travel and lodging. Telemedicine, done by doctors at Massachusetts General Hospital, saves some of those costs, and generates revenue because it means more tests are done on Nantucket. If someone was going off-island to see a dermatologist, they would probably have their labs and x-rays done where that dermatologist was, Dr. Hartman said. Instead, teledermatology saves nearly $29,000 a year because dermatologists now visit only 4 times a year, but appear on screen 6 times a month and see 1,100 patients a year. Previously, dermatologists visited monthly, and always had 100 people on the waiting list, Ms. Bushung said. Nantucket also uses teleradiology, having Boston radiologists, some specializing in certain body areas, read X-rays and scans. It has used telepediatrics twice, for a child in a car accident and one in diabetic crisis. Telstroke uses video neurologists to quickly determine if a patient's stroke type warrants a clot-busting drug, PA, or if PA could harm the patient. Telendocrinology, for thyroid problems and diabetes, is starting. And Nantucket helps to have video sessions for autistic children so parents would not have to take kids with autism off island, since it's hard to travel with them and it upsets them, Ms. Bushung said. Dr. Hartman envisions telerheumatology and telepsychiatry, among other tests. Instead of screens in one exam room and the emergency room, I would love to see every room telemedicine capable, she said. But there are limitations, nationally and on Nantucket. Dr. Yellowlees said interstate telemedicine was hindered by rules requiring that doctors be licensed in the state where patients are treated. Insurance coverage varies, with Medicare and some policies covering telemedicine services only in rural areas. If you're in a city, Medicare will only reimburse if you're in the same room as the doctor, Dr. Yellowlees said. And some telemedicine is not cost-saving or accepted by doctors on the receiving end. Memorial Hermann Hospital Texas Medical Center in Houston ended a tel.c.u program in which intensive care specialists monitored and assisted intensive care units at 5 other hospitals. It was expensive and not demonstrably better, and some doctors and nurses dislike being watched from afar, said Dr. Eric J. Thomas, Associate Dean for Healthcare Quality at University of Texas Medical School at Houston. On Nantucket, Dr. Timothy J. Lepore, 67, a surgeon and the hospital's medical director, sees value in some long-distance doctoring, but has some concerns. He especially prefers having a radiologist on site because he believes that conferring in person helps prevent mistaken readings and gets quicker results. Dr. Lepore said that one teleradiologist misread a chest X-ray, missing that the patient had pulmonary edema, fluid in the lungs. And when Dr. Lepore injured a hamstring while running, a teleradiologist said an MRI showed Dr. Lepore had pulmonary edema of the hip, which was bizarre and impossible. His actual diagnosis, a torn hamstring. Occasionally, Dr. Lepore said, it just goes completely off the trolley. Dr. Efren Flores, a radiologist who divides time between Boston and Nantucket, said he has learned to heed Dr. Lepore's insistence on fast, accurate teleradiology readings because on Nantucket it is important to determine if patients can be treated there or must be flown to Boston. Many patients appreciate that telemedicine saves them trips off island, but not everyone likes it. There are some people who just flatly refuse, and I see them in person, said Dr. Peter Sherlock, one of the 2 Mass General dermatologists who treats Nantucketers remotely. He said he has had to get used to diagnosing without feeling a patient's skin, relying on the nurse, Miss Bushung, for that. Somebody with 100 strange-looking moles, I can probably do in 10 or 15 minutes myself, when it might take half an hour with the camera. Definitely people with more interesting moles, I like to see myself. Still, we're pretty good at picking up what looks funky, to use a technical term, Dr. Sherlock said. I really feel like we're providing essentially the same quality care. So, in August Dr. Sherlock remotely diagnosed eczema in Aaron Blutz, 35. But saw him in person in September and increased his medication dosage and switched him from the cream to pills. Mr. Blutz, stationed on Nantucket with the Coast Guard, was not expecting video doctoring, and said initially it was sort of awkward. But he concluded it's definitely beneficial for both parties. By the time Miss Coyne had her second session in August, this time with Dr. Sherlock, she said, I feel like it's the same thing as an in-person visit. She had accepted the mega magnifying camera by then. It kind of freaks out some people, Dr. Sherlock said. They say, oh my God, I should have shaved my legs. I'm not looking at the hair. I'm looking at the mole.